public school alumni and a Harlem resident here today with Integrate NYC and New Yorkers for Racially Just Public Schools.
Yeah.
When I was asked to speak at this event, I was initially kind of hesitant because I moved to Harlem in the beginning of high school with a white single mom and an Asian sister. So I know that I am part of the social gentrification of this neighborhood, and I cannot speak for the families and students of this community. But so I thought, as a young Asian woman who lives in Harlem, I wanted to speak on standing in solidarity with and following the leadership of the Black and brown families who are the leaders of this community. And it is a shame, it is shameful that fierce community leaders like Kaliris, it is a shame that they had to put their time and energy and labor into organizing this counter rally to defend the integrity and interests of East Harlem. Because their time and energy should be spent going toward assessing their community's needs, toward building a better future, toward elevating the solutions to the injustices they face. Because some wise person once said, those closest to the issues are closest to the solutions. And so to the folks who identify as whites or Asian, or to the folks who had to travel outside of your neighborhood to be here today, our time and energy should be spent listening to the stakeholders of this community and supporting and following their lead, not just as an ally, but as a comrade and accomplice in our collective struggle toward liberation. But for Keep NYC Schools Open and for mayoral candidates like Andrew Yang, instead, they are spending their time and energy on taking a trip to East Harlem for a photo op to tokenize Black and brown people and use them as props to advance their own racist, selfish, and dangerous agenda. Now, if Andrew Yang or the other mayoral candidates actually cared about this community, if they actually wanted to hear what this community has to say, if they were actually concerned about equitably and safely reopening our schools, they would be with us, not a predatory group of white moms who have never been active in Harlem, who have never been to Harlem, who think that they can speak for Harlem. And so Keep NYC Schools Open. They want to fully reopen our schools, right? They want things to return to normal. But we know that normal was pretty fucked up. Fully reopening athletics to how they were before will mean that more than 17,000 Black and brown students will have no access to sports teams. Before schools were shut down, Black and Latinx students were 3 times more likely to walk through a metal detector than white students. That ain't right. And we refuse to return to the status quo. Because the COVID-19 pandemic has exacerbated so many existing inequities. And we must take advantage of this moment to reopen our schools in a way that centers the voices and experiences of the most historically marginalized communities. So young people can return to a school that is more equitable and more just than they were before. And so I just want to finish by saying that this counter rally is targeting folks who are our opposition but not our enemy. White supremacy and racial capitalism is our enemy. The people we are here responding to, they are just not as liberated in their minds and their hearts and their spirits as we are.
Come on, Emma.
Like, they invited the cops to their event today.
Come on, Emma.
So they clearly don't understand that their safety and their healing is dependent on our safety and our healing. Because none of us are liberated until all of us are liberated. And so I hope that these clout-chasing capitalists and bureaucrats and political candidates and white supremacists, I hope that they can feel and will be overcome by our love and our solidarity. I hope that they will be overcome by the people's love and the people's solidarity. Thank you.
How do we follow that? So as Emma mentioned, there's lots of different organizations here in solidarity, not just with the East Harlem community, not just with the Community Education Council of District 4, but we also have New Yorkers for Racially Just Public Schools, New York City Opt Out, Black Lives Matter at Schools, NYC, the More Caucus of the UFT, and we love those that are in Unity too, that are hanging around. Love you, Serbia. We also have organizations like Press NYC, Parents for Responsive Equitable Safe Schools. We've been fighting like a motherfucker to make sure that we have the most equitable plan. Sorry, I shouldn't curse.
You can curse, girl. It's all right. It's all right.
And we've reached out to district leaders, to folks on the community board, the folks that have been on the ground historically here in East Harlem, fighting to protect our communities and making sure that our community has quality access to not just education, but also health, housing, and food justice. And so we want to make sure that we continue to elevate the voices of our community as we think about who's going to lead our city moving forward.
Yes.
We're in a critical time, folks, and we have to engage with each other. So with that, I will introduce one of our district leaders of our neighboring district, but also has a piece of East Harlem. Somebody that I've fought with, shoulder to shoulder, to support public education here in Harlem, who's always taken my calls, who's always handled business, and has been about us all day, every day. Cordell Clear.